can't type. What's up? What's up? What's up? Man, whoa. Got all sorts of stuff going on. I can't tell if this volume's working or not. But first thing I want to start with is yesterday, in the live stream and most recent video talked about FVGs, and just looking at Qs today. Yesterday we talked about this 15-minute FVG that was originally from our 1 hour FVG here. Originally from that 1 hour FVG, broke it down a little bit further here on the 15. And if you notice, price was stopped at the top of that FVG before he fell down, which is a pretty interesting thing to see, of course, and that's why I really got intrigued by FVGs. It just repeatedly goes, which is interesting for sure. Another thing, big orb trader, of course. Today on SPY Dizzy Lizzy, we've been having a ton of gaps, right? Gaps, my favorite ways to play because we don't have a determined, we don't have any levels predetermined, right? So in this case, SPY gaps up, first 15, high, low, cool. Don't really get a retest here. So initially going in, if we look here on the 15, initially going in, right, we have all these levels, especially this level up here that has been prior day, but it extends all the way over, right? So we know we're gapping up into resistance. So in my mind, it's like, okay, I want to either see the top of my orb retested, or I want to see us get back above, preferably a retest so we can push back up. In this case, super quick move created here, right? Things that go up fast are going to fall down fast as well. That's because there's no support created. This is just a strong momentum push up. So in my mind, I'm looking for this retest right in here on that orb high, and we don't get it. We flush right through. So next option, what are we looking for, right? That is where start to look for potentially playing this as a calls on this put trigger here, or want to see it close under and then retest. In this case, we didn't really get either of those scenarios. We did get these two hammer candles where gave us a slight push up. The only thing that took me away from or thinking about playing calls in this scenario is this massive candle here, right? That is a big candle created in 1 5 minute. So in my mind, I want to see a close blow, retest, play some puts. We didn't really get our retest until perfect retest here, right? So interesting day to trade SPY. We get that retest there, and then we do get a little bit of a move. We see this little bit of a long upper wick indicating those sellers coming in. Decent spot, but it also occurred at 12:15. Interesting time to trade, not as much liquidity. So we get that fall off, and then another one later in the day. 3 hard candles, not perfect, but what we can, I guess I would say, assess from this was seller stepping in very heavy here, right? We have all 3 of these candles have decent upper wicks. This one, not as much. We do have a little bit of a buy up body, and then 2 others forcing this price down, then obviously massive here. So in terms of where I'm looking for off entry, some spots, obviously right here is a big one. We don't get it here, and a big reason for that would be, let me zoom in here a little bit. So here, do. But technically we have a sweep of the liquidity here, takes this out, and then it forms this breaker, which if you guys like ICT, hate him, whatever, this is one of his concepts. We retest here. This was an area of liquidity in which was left open. So we do see that quick pop up. But then this is also going to become one of my spots to look for if I'm entering puts here. And then ultimately down here we get all the way through it, right? But it's the end of the day. So interesting spot there. Let's look at Qs. Qs, another Quick push there was our FVG, which were some targets discussed last night. But if we look here, high to low, we actually have an interesting setup in my opinion. We do get a retest up into our FVG, which is certainly interesting. But in this case, again, we know we have that FVG that more than likely will become a resistance because it is a bearish FVG created earlier. So these would be our price targets. Optimally, we would have started down here and then pushed up, but obviously that didn't happen. So up in here is when this candle right here would optimally, of course, be a great entry. We see the denial here. Another candle's confirming. Sellers push in, ding, 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 ding. You know, we can see what happens, obviously. But in terms of price targets, I want to see that orb high. In this case, there. Maybe we scale some. Cool. Second one right down here. And then third, this is an interesting one. Let's go here to the 15 and look at our big areas. So definitely a lot of areas, but I would have really targeted that 293. We didn't get down there until close to the end of the day, didn't fully get down. But I like that a lot. Point here that I think is really cool, and why I like orbs as well, is how well this level is respected. That's our orb high, right? Denial, denial, denial. Great entry spot. First target. And then these levels down in here, I'll use this one here as a target because this is the last wick before we break up. This candle in here also would provide for, whoa, that's too high. But this candle right here would provide for another spot I'd look to scale out. All right, now let's look into some plays for tomorrow. I haven't really looked at anything yet, so just going to break down some charts, kind of look at some charts. SQ, interesting. See, I liked it more yesterday because we were closer to this gap. Definitely potential is there. Downside, I'd like to see under 74.2. Above 77 would be a bit choppy going up towards that 78. We need to reclaim 78 and then push up towards 80. 83 is my big main goal on the upside there. Downside, we have a lot of support down here at 72. So goal would be 74, 73.5. A lot of wicks in here, right? So down in this area, but that main goal of 72 is decent. Let's look at the hour, the daily. So daily, we actually have an inside day, which can create a lot of explosive moves. We're also inside of this wedge. Let me check out this flow menu, hot chains and tickers. Dude, let's see how much FSR. That's interesting. SQ, where you at? Way down here. So significant drop in volume in overall contracts. Hottest chains, 80 calls are still pretty hot. 85s, that's definitely interesting. And 75 puts makes sense. 74 puts, not as much on the downside. Let's go here, live flow. Let's hit this SQ, see if we get any filter. Filter this. We do have a put, 99K on 75 puts. Was taken at right before close. That's interesting. We'll drop that down. All right. Have okay on the ask on these calls. Nothing too crazy in my opinion. These were taken earlier in the day. They're already in the money. So nothing crazy here for flow, which is certainly interesting. Let's go back. I want to check out that FSR is not one, I trade too often. Before this Amazon is sticking out. That's a bunch of volume. 90 put. This is interesting. A 90 put on Amazon. Let's check out Amazon. All right, so oh boy, Amazon's interesting because we do have this volume profile that does get thinner right underneath here, and obviously even thinner here. But this is interesting to me. It looks like this is a very sharp downtrend. Let's look at this on the hourly. Yeah, all right, so looking at this on the hourly, very interesting. Where are our biggest moves? looks like underneath this low is decent, but I'd rather, the biggest move still to me is underneath these retests here on the downside. The upside would like to see this back over 94, whatever this is here, 94.14, 94.2. Like to see that over that for the upside. Definitely these lows here stick out though. 94.35 is a decent level. What's our high here? I'm gonna move that 94.4. Just a little bit safer there. We finished at 93.78. So definitely interesting. Let's go to the 15, see if we can get some more precise levels. All right, so interesting. Move this up here to this 92.54 area. The reason I don't have it a little bit higher here, I think this is too close to our closing price. And there could be more fake outs in this area. So I'd rather take out this here before pushing lower. Let's go to the hourly, break down this on some more. So that's a big level, but man, that downside, to me, it looks great. And they're targeting, look back over this, they're targeting that 90 put is pretty frequent, 93 decent. On the upside, 96, 100 call for 4 days has a lot of activity. Okay, this sticks out. Let's see what's going on here. Whoa. Filter. Actually, I'll just. All right, it won't let me. Let's check this premium. Let's throw in. It's Amazon, so it could be higher. Holy shit. Oh, these are super out of in the money already, though. So I don't really think we can draw too many conclusions based off of these, right? This is 13.64, but they're all super in the money. So interesting, but I don't think I can draw a conclusion based off that. All right, let's go back. Amazon, definitely interesting, but looking at this, if we're going to use some trend lines, looks like we're pretty sharp in here. Can use that, can use this, whatever, float your boat. But get the idea. Interesting for sure. Let's go BA. What are we looking like? All the airlines to me have a very interesting setup. BA, again, another interesting one. If we look at this daily, this is why it interests me. Yeah, that's right. See, where we're at right now, to me, is money. We're in this volume gap, too long upper wicks. Love the downside here. Let's see. Let's go to the 15 to break this down. Underneath this bounce, what's our bounce? 199. I like that. I'm gonna move this 199. Whoa, that's too high. Like that for a downside. Aiming for down in here about 197, and then we do need to take out that low. So that's interesting for sure. The upside, we need to reclaim 20. This retest here, 201.8. Is interesting, but what's this high? 201.7. Looks great to me. What's this? Yeah, I like that 201.7. Then we can potentially push back up. But I like the downside play here as well on BA. Let's look at AAL is another good one. So nothing as much, but we do have this today. Denied again at 15.8. Let's check out the hourly. Certainly interesting. AAL's unfortunately one that doesn't move as much, but makes sense with the premiums, all that good stuff. So interesting. Check out the daily. Yeah, a lot of denials up in here. The only thing that worries me potentially from the downside is we do have that trend line, and that can break to an explosive move, but it's got a lot of wicks to get through at this prior support zone that was formed here. So we denied it again, right? And we do have that downside gap to fill over here, which I like a lot. Let's go to Apple. Apple. Interesting. Haven't looked at this one in a while. Apple hasn't been moving. That's one thing I've definitely noticed. Apple, Meta, Microsoft all have been very stagnant after gap ups or gap downs, which it makes it hard to play. So I don't like Apple as much here. We're kind of just in this little chop zone. Don't like that compared to potential others. AMD, another one that's doing that stuff. Amazon, I like that one more. BA, downside. Baba's another one that, you know, gaps so much overnight it's hard to play. Disney's interesting. Needs to get over that 102. DKNG. Now this looks a little more like my style. Let's see if we got anything here on DKNG. I gotta find it. Rivian had a decent day, so we'll check that one out. Beyond, Uber, Lucid. DKNG, not very much volume at all here. Hottest 53 days on the 25, the 19s and 20s, 18.5 puts. 18 days on this 30 call. That's interesting. Well, let's see what this spike is. All right, whoa, that's a big one. It's a cross trade though. I'm not too worried. 5K on these 19s. Let's put a filter on here. 5,000. Okay. 1,000. Actually, let's just go DTE 0 to 21. That's a little more like it. Ooh, still, I want to filter out some of these. That's too much that I don't want to see. So what do we have here? Ask side call at 5,000. Definitely interesting. Bid side call. Nothing crazy stands out here. High size. All right, let's go 500 maybe. Nothing crazy again. What up, Ludwig? Yeah, nothing crazy, man. From a flow perspective, but from a straight perspective of a TA, great bounce, right? This is a great bounce zone. Top side, what's our high here? 19. I love it. See if we can get over 19, right? It's 19 cents. Let's go to the daily. What are we looking at? Ooh, interesting. That level's big. It's 1981. Let's go to 15. See if we can get some better levels off this thing. All right, so if it loses, ooh, that's big too. If it loses that 1858, could see a decent flush down. So DKNG definitely has some possibilities here. I like it a lot up towards, we can get up towards 19.3, which is a 30-cent move. DKNG very cheap. The premiums are cheap, so I like that. That's a very big spot as well. And then over that, this zone up here makes sense. Then we get into some chop. But on the downside, you right here stand out. And then right here is huge, down to 18. So potential's there both ways. Definitely a cheaper premium name, great for those smaller accounts. But it doesn't tend to move as much. It's one that moves super quick in the first 15. All right, let's see. Lucid's another one that has a lot of upside potential. It's just hard to really gauge where exactly I'm looking here. Like best case scenario for me on Lucid, it's another one that doesn't move as much, unfortunately. Cheap, great premiums, but doesn't move as much. So it's one that takes a ton of patience. Best case scenario though, we gap up into here and able to try and push up. Look at this hourly. Yeah, so very good spot for a bounce, right? A bunch of volume nodes in here, obviously, were taken from this massive move on that candle. But we do have room to fill this gap back up here towards 964. Would like to see it over 9. And even then, you know, that's a 65-cent move, but it looks massive on this chart. Let's look at the daily. All right, so daily is a hammer inside break to the upside. What is this level? 890. Am I drunk? 896. This should be higher, yeah. 889. All right. Yeah, so it looks like what's our high here? About 9. Yeah. Looks about 890 is a big level. 907. Yeah, what's our high? 890 is where I would look for calls just based off this, right? That's been a big resistance level. So I like Lucid to the upside more. Rivian's another one. A lot of these names had decent moves in the EV space. But Rivian, it's another one that's a shit ton of chop zones ahead or overhead, it looks like. So I don't like that as much. Let me just check out the daily. All right, so daily hammer bounce right into this volume node, though. So interesting play. I don't like it as much for tomorrow. SoFi just moved so slow recently. But we are at a good potential zone. It just, like, if I look at this daily, I think it's been moving about 30 cents a day. 16 cents a day. How the hell are we supposed to make money on 16 cents a day, right? So I don't like that play as much. SQ we talked about. Tesla. Another interesting one, bounced off this volume node. That's peak performance volume profile right there. Hourly. A lot of shit happening. All right. I'm just going to remove all these for now. A lot of stuff to break down. This high stands out. This low, 209, 209.7. What are our lows here? 209.75 looks like a good level that needs to be crossed. We're over at 207. I like that for a potential move back up here towards 214. Now on the downside, looking this low retest here about 204. I got to update. Not as much downside potential in my opinion because we're back in those chop zones. Ooh. So another one, upside, great play or sympathy play off Tesla would be Lucid, cheaper premiums. UAL is another one that's interesting. This is what interests me about UAL. If I go to the daily here, your textbook bull flag, right? We have this to here, and then our little flag, little flag pole, there we go, and the flag, we dropped out of it and then actually reclaimed and been denied twice, still getting denied. So another potential, I don't like it as much. Uber, another interesting one, we're consolidating. Let's check out the hourly. So on the hourly, I have some levels from Lord knows when. Certainly interesting. If it loses these lows here at 33, we do have some room. What's our low here? 33.8. We finished at 33.58. What's our high here? 33.92. QS? Yep. I'll look at QS right now. Interesting. Yeah, let's look at QS. QS is not one I've played. Unless you're talking about Qs, then, oh, interesting. Wow, I didn't know. Very interesting. So we are hanging out on that volume node. This is, you said you're in next month. So let's look at the daily. Daily. Oh, yeah. Certainly interesting. Looks like for those puts, support down here at 795, which has been a pretty big support. Ooh, that's a big area. These lows in here to these highs, so that 8.3 to 8.35 look like a big area to me. I'm curious as to if there were earnings on this day, or why the massive. Let's look at some flow on you. QS, what are you looking like? Intraday, 20 calls, 2025. That's 2 years away almost. A lot of activity actually on the bull side, which is interesting. So certainly interesting. Let's see. We do have that. All right, let's go to the live flow. QS, take away these. Take away that premium. I don't want a time on this. Oops. Monday to Monday. Apply. Let's see what came in here. Anything noticeable? I'm going to throw on this only. And we'll go single leg as well. All right. So nothing. Ooh, that's big. Bid side put. Bid on these calls. So it looks like a lot of out of the money calls are having action, but none of them are ass side for the most part, and they don't have crazy premium, so nothing really stands out too much to me there. And a lot of these are opening trades on contracts that have no open interest. So an interesting thing can certainly do is go in tomorrow or whatever and check that OI sticks. If it doesn't, they close those positions. So definitely interesting. This premium is the biggest I see here, which is a selling, potential selling of those 8-5 puts or buying of the puts at the bid, which in turn is bullish, but nothing crazy. Certainly interesting. This is not a name I've ever traded. From an hourly perspective, I do like the downside potential with this volume gap over here. But we need to obviously break a couple of levels. First one that sticks out is this low here at 9, which 12 cents makes sense. It's also a very big number. And then down in here, this retest 875. So interesting, but definitely a lot of room down towards 8.3 if we can break the levels. It doesn't look like the biggest or fastest mover in the world, but it does look like it likes to use flag patterns, really. Have a little bit of a flag or a wedge here. Sorry, wedge, not flag. Interesting wedge, right? But we do have this, which can be bullish, but it also can break to the downside, right? So interesting play. Let's look at XPEV. XPEV was interesting because today they had bullish earnings, right? Beat on earnings, beat on their outlook, all that good stuff. But it pops hard off the open. Like I'm talking super hard. Doom. And then just a flush throughout the day. If we look at BABA as well, it's kind of been a theme with Chinese names is they pop super hard on the earnings and then have been fading. NASA actually brought this up on Twitter, so credit to him for that. I don't believe our earnings were here for BABA, right? Super high pop and then just fade throughout the day. So see if we get some continuation there. NEO has earnings on Wednesday, so another name in that same space. It's worth watching in my opinion. It's hard. 8s for 421. Yeah, I like that you gave yourself time. That's definitely a good thing. NEO, like at this point, NEO's so cheap compared to what it used to be that it doesn't really move as much, and it's an interesting one to trade. It used to be my favorite ticker to trade in the world because it does have very quick moves when it goes, but nowadays it's just consolidation after consolidation, and it gaps up based on what happens in China, so it's a hard name to trade. Chips in general, MU does have some very tight consolidation range. But this is what I was talking about earlier with the Meta and Microsoft. these big blue chip names is they gap overnight and then they don't do shit. They just don't move, and it's hard to trade that, right? Super hard to trade. Like this chart to me is super ugly. Gap, 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 gap. How do we trade that from a day trading perspective? And it's hard to do because we do have a ton of volume gaps created, but a lot of that action occurs either in the morning or overnight, so it's very hard to trade. NVIDIA, very strong. Another one that's been gapping like crazy, but it's interesting. I'd love to see it over 238 for a continued push up. On the downside, interesting because I'd love to play 230, this 234 level for a downside, but we closed right near it, so it's very close to be taking stuff, in my opinion. But if we were to do that, I would like to see us down here under this 231.8, 232 level for a potential down here towards 230, 229.58, 230. Really this level here, 230.25. And then we can push down, right? We do have upside potential. This is one in like 1 or 2 days. It looks great to me. Problem again being all these damn gaps. All right, now from a indices perspective, IWM, SPY, Qs. Let's see what we got going on here. So IWM stuck in here. Would like to see it back over that level. 189's been big. 189.15. That retest. We also have these lows here, and then could potentially set us up a little bit. I don't like IWM as much for tomorrow. It's a slower mover, but it does tend to respect orbs pretty well. So I'd like it from that perspective. In this case, if we were orbing it, I'll put that back. Whoops. We're orbing this sucker high to low. We don't get that retest again. So it's certainly interesting. AMC's one in there, and AMC had a ton of flow. I hate trading AMC personally. It's super news driven, and everyone thinks it's just going to pop. Super heavy on the put volume. Let's see what's going on with it. 4 puts for 53 days. 10 calls in 18 days. Definitely interesting. Good God, that's a massive order. Let's check her out. 14K, ass side 326 days out. Let's do some filters. See if we can do anything over 1K potentially. Okay, nothing too crazy. A lot of these are, I'm guessing these are buying the puts. Yeah, so a lot of them are all together on the 4 puts and the 6 calls, which could be trying to collect premium. Could be a bunch of different things. Interesting for sure, but it's another one I don't like. Shit like that. All right, let's go to SPY. All right, so SPY, talked about it earlier, but let's look at outlook for tomorrow. Interesting. That 402 level's been huge. So would like to see it push back up. Long term wise, almost filled this gap. 400 obviously big. That's 4025. Was that retest? Let's go to 15. So it needs to get back over this from today's price action. We do have that low there with some 395 does have some support on the 15. 359.12 has some support. Definitely interesting spot for SPY as well. We are, from today's perspective, it's a very quick wedge. Didn't mean to hit that one. Very quick wedge, potential pop into tomorrow. But the bigger move to me, over 402. And then underneath these levels down here, 395 area. Really underneath this 393.5. Can give us a nice little move down. See if we have any FVGs created. We do have one on the top side, a small one, but we do have one from here to here. A 20 cent. Doesn't really stick out too terribly much. Let's see if we have any more. Oh God, we're gonna go to the hourly and break this down a little bit. So we do have this one down here, which has been created here to here, but it has been filled a little bit. $1 range, so that's nice. Could be a target. On the downside, do need to break some levels. Certainly interesting. Let's look from a daily. Daily bounced off that volume. So that's it. Well, I don't want the 5. I want the weekly. Let's see. Weekly inside week so far. It's only Monday. These last two upper wicks are interesting from a lot of sellers obviously coming in. Our volume hasn't been great though. And Qs. Let's look at Qs. Similar story, of course. I do like Qs more to the upside. We have far less volume. Let's look at the 15, see if I can get a little bit better Ooh, so I'd like to see this under there. And then from the upside, remove. The upside, we need to get back over that 295. There's still a lot of stuff over that 295 is the problem being there. Let's look at the hourly, see if we can see a little bit more. Yeah, so 295 up here, 296 would be money. That level up there near 296 would be a great level I'd like on the upside. But from a short-term perspective, I'd like to see it over this 295.5 for a potential up there, and then we can start getting on with it. But certainly interesting. I like Qs, I think, the most, honestly, for an upside move. Downside, we do have a little bit we can fill. So I like that potential. But, of course, I'd like the upside more to fill this volume profile, move a little bit faster. SQ, I like that a lot. Other than that, nothing too crazy to me. Amazon, I think, would be my favorite overall setup, mainly for that downside. And then EVs upside, I like the potential there. So, interesting day tomorrow, if you ask me. Let's see if we have any thing for the U.S. economic calendar. Click on that. Monday, S&P Consumer Conference, Chicago Fed President speaks. It's not Powell, nothing crazy. Another one that does come to mind, why EVs kind of just clicked in my brain. Tesla has its investor day on Wednesday. So certainly interesting. Let's do a little search here and see. I'm curious when the last couple of Tesla investor days have been. Investor day. Let's see when it was in 2022. August 4th. Oh boy, we got to go back a ways. Go to the daily. August 4th of 2022. That's going to be up in here. September, August. That's still September. August 4th. So it looks like price pushed up preceding, and then it fell pretty hard after. Don't have as much momentum in this case, I'd say. We did break out, but in this, here we have a ton of momentum created these last couple of days, or last, I guess, month after our massive move here. January 6th to today, moved up $100 and some dollars. So pretty crazy stuff. EVs can follow, of course, Tesla. So one that I'm actually going to check based off this is ARK. Good old Kathy Woods ETF. Let's see what they're doing. Huh. Another interesting one on ARK. Tesla's a massive holding in ARK. Obviously pretty massive. Good God, I got a lot of lines. Let's remove this. Remove this. So looking at 38 has been a big level. It's just a lot of choppiness. I like the downside more, of course, but upside, we do have some buyers. A lot of support at 38. Downside potential. Tesla's the biggest holding in it. And with that investor day, it kind of makes me weary ahead of time to play. But if it breaks 38, it could be a great move. Let's check out some oil. Another consolidation one. Man, this is just interesting. UPST flagging. Another hard one to trade. I hate UPST's spreads. Other than that, I'm not really noticing anything crazy. If you guys have any questions, for sure drop them. But I do not see anything too crazy. Let's check out some hot chains, see if we can find anything cool in here. Google's one I haven't checked in a while. I like the other one better, though. This one. Google. 95 call, 105 call. Interesting. Not a lot on the put side. But these are pretty cheap premiums. That 95 is interesting. What did we finish at? About 90? Google, let's see what you got going on. Whoa. Okay. So a ton of resistance. Way over here. If we look at this, there's a bunch of resistance. Like this sticks out. No. This sticks out because it's used here as our bounce, and then here it becomes resistance. Bounce again at 91.7. Shorter term. Whoa. Shorter term. Let's see what you're doing here. 95 were those, right? I mean, they matches up perfectly with that volume profile there. Let's look at the daily. Oh, daily actually has a lot of room on the volume profile up towards 95. So that could be a target there for sure. But man, there's a lot of levels we need to get through, right? There is an unfilled FVG. I don't really like using it on individual stock names, but it is potential. If I were to day trade this, I'm probably looking at here to here. To be honest with you, we have an inside after that. Could play that retest. Interesting because we didn't move much today. High to low is less than $1 on a big name like that. So yeah, looking at that intraday, right, we have some room up here towards 91 for sure. I mean, that's not much of a move though, right? That's for a name like Google, you'd expect a little bit more. We do have a lot of support down here, 88.5. Ray, what's up? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We're having some problems, it looks like. I just got a message. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. We had power go out today, so I hope that doesn't fuck this up. Interesting. Whatever. All right, so downside, right, we do have some room. I'm not sure how great the quality is. If you guys are experiencing bad quality, please let me know, and we can always do some other stuff for sure. But I don't know what's going on. All right, back to that. So Google, another one we do have some room up, a little bit of room down, but I do like those bigger moves potentially in a shit ton of resistance and wicks and all that good stuff right here. So since this stream quality is so bad, I might end this and then see what we can do. I'll hop back on for more streams throughout the week, get, whatever it may be. So any questions ever come